Hydrogen is the lightest and most abundant element in the universe, and yet it has the potential to be the greenest fuel of all. That's because when hydrogen is burned, the only byproduct is water vapor. There are no carbon emissions, no air pollution, and no greenhouse gases. Hydrogen can be used to power everything from cars and planes to homes and businesses. It has the potential to be even more efficient than gasoline or diesel. So why aren't we using it more?
Welcome back to Climate Tech Talks, a podcast dedicated to disseminating knowledge and practical information on climate change and the various difficulties it presents to governments, economies, enterprises, and people worldwide. I'm Velichko Yanchev, a venture and angel investor focusing on climate tech, and I'm the managing partner of CarbonX Capital.
And I am Sam Cooke, the co-founder and CEO of CarbonX, a B2B environmental startup.
And I am Thomas Corbin, the co-founder of RH Studio, a digital marketing agency right here in Hong Kong.
We're looking to assist various stakeholders, including corporates, startups, investors, and policymakers to drive positive change and ideally create opportunities, financial or otherwise, for anyone interested in contributing to the resolution on climate change. Today, we'll be discussing green hydrogen, why it is considered by many experts as the fuel of the future, and why it may play a major role in the energy transition away from fossil fuels. Whilst there are challenges associated with green hydrogen, such as its high cost of production, it remains a promising technology that could help decarbonize our economies. If you have any thoughts or questions on green hydrogen, climate change, or more broadly on technologies and startups in the space, including how you can get involved and help, please reach out to any of us via LinkedIn, Twitter, or through the YouTube comment section. We'd love to hear from you. You can also reach us on email at hello@climatetechtalks.com.
So, one of the first things is we need to understand about green hydrogen and how it works. So green hydrogen sounds like something out of a science fiction movie, but it's actually a real thing. And what you need to know is it's a very clean source of energy. So green hydrogen is made through a process called electrolysis, which uses renewable electricity to split water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen. The hydrogen can then be used as fuel, while the oxygen is released into the air. One of the great things about green hydrogen is that when you burn it, it produces no carbon emissions, making it an extremely environmentally friendly energy source. Additionally, green hydrogen can be stored and transported like any traditional fossil fuel, making it a versatile energy option. In short, green hydrogen is clean, efficient, and environmentally friendly. That shows great promise for the future. But how is green hydrogen different from all the other types of hydrogen? And what are the other types of hydrogen? Velichko, do you mind taking this?
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to hydrogen, there are four main types. So there's gray, blue, yellow, and green hydrogen. Gray hydrogen is the most common type. So over 90% of hydrogen currently produced and currently generated is gray hydrogen. And it's essentially produced through natural gas reforming. Blue hydrogen is similar to gray, but it also captures carbon emissions through carbon capture and storage facilities. Yellow is produced from nuclear. And finally, green hydrogen is produced from renewable sources like solar or wind power. So as gray and blue hydrogen are fossil fuel based, they produce carbon emissions when used, something like well over 700 million tons of CO2 per annum. Yellow and green hydrogen, on the other hand, are considered to be clean or zero emissions options. As a result, they have the potential to be used in fuel cell vehicles or other applications where low emissions are essential. Now let's have a look at how green hydrogen has been successfully implemented in several countries and cities around the world.
Yeah, and we actually have quite a few examples already available to us. One early adopter was Iceland, who announced plans to create a green hydrogen economy back in 1998 and started using green hydrogen buses in Reykjavik in the early 2000s. The success of the project, along with similar experiments with hydrogen buses in Europe and the USA, encouraged large-scale commercial adoption of hydrogen fuel buses, with experiments still ongoing today. In France, hydrogen was being used to power a regional train line in 2021, A similar project is being undertaken in Victoria, Australia, which is still in its early stages, but shows promise as a way to reduce emissions from the transport sector. Also, in 2021, the Japanese government announced plans to invest $3.4 billion in accelerating green hydrogen R&D, with a goal of increasing its hydrogen production by about 50% by 2030. Green hydrogen is also being used in the rest of Asia, with projects underway in South Korea and China. And these are just a couple of examples of how hydrogen is successfully being implemented in some parts of the world. But there are still plenty of challenges to overcome to make the switch to green hydrogen as our primary fuel source. And Velichko, you probably got a few points you can add on to this.
Yeah, of course. There's a lot of challenges, as you mentioned and alluded to just now. We just kind of summarize it to the main ones here. I would say number one is the high cost of generation. So one of the main challenges to making the switch to green hydrogen is still the cost of generating it. So most of the cost comes from using significant amounts of electricity in order to separate the hydrogen and the oxygen atoms in the water. And so we need to increase our use of solar, wind, and other forms of renewable energy, right? So if we can do that, we can bring the costs down of production. The second point is around creating infrastructure. So we need to create new infrastructure that is necessary to distribute and store the green hydrogen. We need a network of pipelines and storage facilities to make sure that this fuel can be readily available when we need it. Third point is the fact that we need new vehicles or new types of vehicles which can run on hydrogen. You can't just put it in a internal combustion engine and just expect that it's gonna run. So and the same goes for other forms of transportation, whether it's buses, planes, ships, etc. So there's some progress already in that being made, but still very early days, I would say. Fourth point is around regulation and incentives and how to make that economically viable. So for green hydrogen to become a mainstream fuel source, we still need to enact regulations that support its growth. And this can be in the form of incentives like tax breaks, subsidies, mandates to use it in certain industries, etc. There's also safety, which is the fifth point. There's some safety concerns around using it as a primary fuel source, and that's essentially because hydrogen is flammable, and if there's a leak in a pipeline or anywhere in the supply chain, the distribution chain, it can explode. So obviously it's a big concern. And the final point is really around competitive viability, and I would say that's probably one of the biggest challenges actually. So currently traditional forms of energy storage are actually much more efficient than green hydrogen. For example, hydrogen fuel cells convert to around 60 to 70% of the energy they produce into usable energy, and that compares to 90% or more efficiency for lithium-ion batteries. So there's quite a big gap there. So green hydrogen is still a clean fuel source that has the potential to revolutionize our economies in the future. But there is one key question that we want to answer, and why don't we just use more batteries instead?
Yeah, and that's actually something that's been raised by, probably the most famous battery person in the world, Elon Musk, who in an interview with ARK Invest stated that green hydrogen is just not viable. And although many experts disagree with him and believe that green hydrogen is the fuel of the future, it is a comment that is worth addressing, and there are several reasons why this may be the case. First, regarding why green hydrogen is usable, is because of the sustainable and environmental friendliness of it. So unlike batteries, you don't need to mine and refine a lot of materials, and you can produce it using renewable energy sources quite effectively, like solar and wind. Second is the efficiency. It can be stored, transported quite easily. You can refill it easily, and it produces no harmful emissions when used as fuel. As mentioned before, your byproducts are oxygen and water vapor. In contrast, batteries can be bulky, difficult to transport, and they produce harmful emissions when charged, depending on where you're charging them. Third, it's the storage potential. So yes, green hydrogen is a product of the amount of pressure that you're putting it under and also the temperature. So it does have quite a large storage potential and can be much higher than batteries if you and you can store it for a very long period of time if you put it under enough temperature and a low enough temperature. And finally, it's on track to become more affordable. It will likely cost less than batteries to produce, and it can be used to power a variety of different devices. So this might make it a more cost-effective option for powering our homes and vehicles. Although Elon Musk's point does stand that batteries are a little bit more of a mature technology. So overall, there are many reasons why we should invest in green hydrogen over only investing in improving batteries, but that doesn't mean that batteries should not become a major element in our future energy grid, and that both technologies may be important to our future, and we have the capacity to invest in both of these. And in particular, hydrogen, especially green hydrogen, can be extremely useful for some key industries, which, Tom, I think you know quite a bit about, right?
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, the key industry that green hydrogen is going to be good for is the transport sector. It's in all of these vehicles that have to travel large distances without having convenient spots to refuel, like electric cars do. So let's take an example. Shipping is a critical industry that is responsible for moving billions of tons of cargo every year. However, it's also one of the most polluting industries, accounting for nearly 2% of global CO2 emissions. Green hydrogen could be used to power the ship's engines, which could lead to increased efficiency and reduced fuel costs. Similarly, aviation is another important sector that could benefit from green hydrogen fuel cell technology. Aircraft also account for about 2% of global fossil fuel gas emissions, so it is important to find ways to reduce all of these emissions. Using green hydrogen in aircraft would also help reduce noise pollution and improve air quality. But a slightly different industry, which might surprise you, is green hydrogen is actually also really useful for agriculture. Hydrogen can be used as fertilizer to help plants grow faster and healthier. It can also improve soil quality and reduce water usage. Hydrogen can also be used to create biofuels, which can be used as an alternative to gasoline or diesel.
There has already been a great deal of progress for green hydrogen applications in transportations. For example, the shipping company Maersk has purchased 12 green methanol-fueled container vessels that will be delivered by 2025. The methanol will be produced by combining green hydrogen with carbon dioxide. And then United Airlines is committed to purchasing up to 100 hydrogen electric engines for their regional aircraft. The technology can be retrofitted to their aircraft from 2028.
So, to wrap up, green hydrogen does have the potential to completely revolutionize the way we power homes, businesses, and cities. It is a clean and sustainable energy source that can be used in many different ways. And we have seen some success stories from around the world of how green hydrogen is being successfully implemented. But I think we can all agree, green hydrogen is still in its very early stages, and there are huge challenges that we need to overcome before we can make the switch to using green hydrogen on a big enough scale to make an impact on climate change. But as with all things, time will tell, and we will know within the next decade or so if this is an attainable goal. Now, for everyone listening, if you would like to learn more about green hydrogen or how you can contribute to this effort, please reach out to us in the comments or through our website. We'd love to hear from you.
And if you found this content useful, please subscribe from wherever you're listening.
Thank you very much for watching. Until next time.